Okay, I got my head locked up here, checking our install heights and everything here, and valve to valve clearances. And we said here we want about 1/800 to 1/825 is normally what's used for install heights for your normal cams, and up to 850 is alright. So if you look at the scale out there, we are about 1/815, somewhere there, 820. So we're good on that one. And this one here is about 805, it looks like. So those two are pretty close to each other. You can see how far apart the valves are when you get the oversized valves. So we got to check our overlap clearances. So this is the other head here. So the way you do that is put your valves in there. Do a quick look to see if these are close to what the other ones are. They should be pretty close. Let's see, that one's just a little bit deeper maybe. And that one looks pretty close. Okay, so now what I do is I take your valves. This is the exhaust valve over here. So you pick something on the valve here to measure from, and then you drop it into whatever your TD lift is going to be on whatever the biggest cam you're going to use is. So in this case, our biggest cam is going to be about about 190 thou lifted TD. So might see 200, but pretty much about 180 would be the highest we'd ever see. So if I go ahead and just drop this valve about 200, get a little extra. Then we go over on the intake and do the same thing. Pick a spot. And this one will go about maybe 220, 225, be the biggest cam they'll ever put in this motor. Then you spin it around and look at your clearances over here. And you can see the gap right between the valves here is pretty close. But we have clearance. And that's the biggest cam they'd ever use, which is not likely because this could be a mild bike. So if you just move the valves in just a tick to see what the gap looks better. When you come back and look at your measurements and see how much you moved it, we dropped about 25 off that one, which is what the cam is going to be less than that. And look at this one, we dropped about 20. So if we put the biggest cam possible he wants to run in there, we're pretty damn close. If we're going to run the normal cam he's going to use, we got lots of clearances. Now what you want to avoid is, you want to avoid your valves being too close together. Because obviously if these hit each other, you're going to bend them. And that would not be good. So I will run them as close as 30 thou. Realistically, you want to have probably 50 thou between them. But if I see 30, and you're going to have the lower RPM bike, and the guy's not going to drive it hard, that's enough. And we're putting good springs in it anyway. If you're going to drive, the guy's going to drive the bike hard, and you know he's going to run the, wind the snot out of it, you've got to get higher up clearances, because if he floats the valves, you can tag. So that's pretty much how you check it. On my race bike, I've run them as close as 20 thou. But that's me. The valves can actually hit each other a little bit and not do any damage, but it's best if they don't touch each other. Depends on what you're doing. Gotta do what you gotta do if you're racing. On the street, you could be more conservative. Alright, so these all check fairly good. So I'm gonna go ahead and see about clean up the rest of these parts here. Check the install height on this one, see if it matches the other one, and then see about assembling these. Okay, here's how you check the install height. Put your valves in there, obviously. Now you can put your, you can have your collars, upper and lower collars. We're using Manley conical springs here. So this takes this real small diameter upper collar here to use. This is your standard lower one, look here. So they furnish you up all this stuff here. And then we use the original Harley multi-groove keepers here for the 7mm valves. So on the older valves they use 5/16 keepers, and they come with keepers, the spring kits. So you can just put the lower collar on the valve into the head there. You put your upper collar into here. You put your two keepers on it, pull them up, and hold it while you measure it. Or you can take a spring here, the small springs. Find these wherever you can find them. Go ahead and use the light spring to hold everything together so you can measure it. You can also use, if you're on a dual valve spring, you can just use the center valve spring and go ahead and just stall it. And with that, you can use that as a measuring tool. I got 2 of these here, so go ahead and put 2 together. Okay, always rotate the valves, the key collars on the valves to make sure they're centered. Okay, now you just take your 6-inch scale here, and this is a 5R version, so it's got 16ths and 32nds on one side, and it's got hundredths and 10,000ths on this side. So you can measure these down to 10 thou pretty easily. I can usually measure within 3 on accuracy, and most of the time I'm closer than that, but close enough. So you go ahead and measure your installed height, and see what you got. So on this one here, we're about 815 or so, it looks like. So that's 1.815. Gotta make sure you're on the collar. This one here is a little bit lower, or higher, whatever you want to call it. This one's only about 790. This one's a little close for some reason. So, not sure why that one's closer. I'm going to take this apart, take a look at it, make sure everything's down the same height as everything else was. Yeah, probably a little bit higher than the other one. So this one I have to go ahead and recut the head on this valve. It's not quite deep enough. This is the one we checked our clearance with, so if we cut that deeper, we'll have more clearance. There we go. And then we check it again. Yeah, we're still coming up short by about 20 from where I want it to be. We're about 790. So I need to sink it down just slightly deeper. Alright. Parts out of the way there. So basically what I need to do is I need to cut this seat here a little bit deeper to make it the correct install height. So we're going to look at doing that. We'll come back.